All right, so my initial inclination about this game on Sunday is that the Vikings are going to come back. They're at home. They should. Oakland, I think Oakland's better than we thought possibly, but they're certainly not great. And so my initial takeaway on this game is that, come back, win by 2 touchdowns, and then go play Chicago in Chicago, which will be a tougher game offensively. And we'll see how you rebound from that Green Bay game at Lambeau Field last Sunday. That's my initial inclination. But that was my inclination probably even more so a year ago, guys, after a 29-29 tie in Green Bay.
Yeah.
And the Vikings came back here in week 3 and were absolutely destroyed really all over the field, 27-6 by Buffalo. That at least makes me pause and say, yeah, you know what? I felt this exact same way last year, and I couldn't have been more wrong.
But I do think the one takeaway I have coming out of last week that I don't think a lot of people had coming out of the Green Bay game last year is that the defense looks like it's in a much better place right now than it did at this time last year. Where last year, I realized that they only gave up 8 more points in the Green Bay game last year, but it was an entirely different type of game. The 21 points that they gave up this Sunday, the first 2 drives and then a short field, and then they were lights out. My confidence in the defense of the Vikings is higher right now than it would have been at this time last year. So that's why I don't know how much these 2 games necessarily compare just because of the defense alone.
I would tend to agree. I just pause a little bit.
No, and I understand the trepidation.
I assumed against Buffalo, and that was a worse Buffalo team. This Oakland team I don't think is great. It's not that good.
Yeah.
But that Buffalo team at that time was 0-2, rookie starting quarterback. They were seemingly a bad team.
They had gotten destroyed by the Ravens, I think, the week before, like 49-6 or something like that.
And this is why I at least think it's worth a conversation of what the expectation should be. 651-646-8255. By the way, we're in the TCL broadcast studios if you'd like to chime in on what you expect to happen on Sunday. But Danny, I would go towards your side on this. I do believe that that defense was in the midst of a first 4 games that were tough.
Yeah.
This defense had probably a bad first quarter in Green Bay, but you're right. It looks a lot stronger.
Yeah, and I think that that's a big reason for optimism. That's a good reason to feel good about this team moving forward, moving into this week. I think that there are some reasons to maybe not be as confident, to maybe think that something along the lines of what happened against Buffalo last year could happen again against Oakland on Sunday. And sure, the offense doesn't give you a ton of reason for optimism right now, but the defense does. And I think that that's why they'll win this game.
All right, so what should the elephant in the room, obviously, is the quarterback. His offensive line's not great. That's probably not going to be entirely fixed. Now, schematically, my guess is that they have made some adjustments this week to combat that a bit. Oakland has some definite problems on the offensive line. In fact, let me get this called up here so I can see. Okay, their right tackle, Trent Brown, has not practiced this week because of a knee problem. Their right guard, Gabe Jackson, also has a knee problem. He's been out and has yet to practice going into today. Now, Incognito is coming back.
Yeah.
His 2-game suspension is done. But the elephant in the room is Kirk Cousins. And here's what I'm really curious to see. A year ago, going into week 3, Cousins was coming off a really solid second half in Green Bay.
Mm-hmm.
Kirk Cousins was going into his 3rd game as a Viking. There was still people were not going to turn on Kirk.
Yeah.
They might have been mad at the team, and the team was crappy, and I think the team did get booed at US Bank Stadium, but you never had the overwhelming feeling that, oh my gosh, this Cousins thing is blowing up and fans are mad at Kirk at the time because that was game 3. This is far different.
Yeah.
And the one thing that I want to see on Sunday is if things even slightly go wrong for Kirk, the boos will not be necessarily at the team. They're going to be at Kirk. And
I don't think that's a question.
And I'm not talking about the first pick. I'm not talking about the first fumble. I'm talking about the first pass, and this might not even be Kirk's fault. The first pass that lands at Stephon Diggs' feet, CJ Ham's feet.
I think it's the first 3 and out.
I was just going to say
the first time. I don't think I don't think Vikings fans will be so unforgiving that if they open up the game on first down, their first possession, and Kirk Cousins misses a guy, I don't think the boos come out then. But if they open up the game and Kirk Cousins, maybe he misses 2 passes in 3 plays, they run the ball once, they have to punt. I think that when Britton Colquitt comes onto the field, there could be some boo birds greeting him, and it's not because of Britton Colquitt.
I honestly think that if we get an early pass on first or second down that skips, they're going to start to boo. and then it's going to grow. But here's what I'm curious. I'm not curious about the fan base.
Sure.
I'm curious about Kirk's reaction to them.
Mm-hmm.
I think Kirk is in Kirk's head like never before. And so if I thought Kirk could look in the stands and be like, bleep you people, I don't care. I'm Kirk Cousins. I'm your starting quarterback. Too bad. Then I'd say, okay, it's interesting, but that's it. But I want to see if that happens, you guys, how he reacts to that. Because I issue no guarantees that he's going to tune it out and be fine then.
I think what's more interesting to me is not necessarily how Kirk responds to it, but how his teammates act about it, how his teammates view him getting booed. Because if the ball lands at Stephon Diggs' feet, Stephon Diggs isn't the one getting booed. Adam Thielen's not getting booed. Kyle Rudolph's not getting booed. Now, Garrett Bradbury might be getting booed, but it's not going to be aimed at those guys.
Yep.
It's going to be aimed at Kirk Cousins. I'm curious how those guys react to what could be a slow start again from Kirk Cousins.
I'm going to do a poll here. If you're a Vikings fan,
let's put it on the Score North account.
Okay. Yeah. If you're a Vikings fan and you're going to Sunday's game, I think we should do a poll with options. How quickly would you boo Kirk Cousins? First, bad incompletion.
Okay.
3 and out, right?
Yep.
That can be second. The next one can be, it would take a half. So you wouldn't boo in the first 2 quarters. And what's the fourth one?
Either not booing or at the end of the game.
And for the life of me, I can't figure out what he's going to do because I've never seen him. The thing with Kirk is from afar in Washington, I think we all had assumptions about Kirk.
Sure.
But now that we've seen him on a weekly basis through 18 regular season games, I can't figure out at this point in time how he's going to come back now and if he's going to thrive. You know, because that's the thing about athletes. They can't. Now, I don't think that he necessarily will, but you know, if he comes out on Sunday and completes a couple passes, let's say they get a significant completion to Thielen or Diggs early on, that could change the entire tenor of that game. If Oakland collapses a bit, all of a sudden it's 21 rip for you after the first quarter instead of Green Bay.
Well, we saw what happened when that's the case. That was what the Falcons game was. They jumped up early. They could run the ball. They could take the air out of the clock. Kirk Cousins didn't need to do anything.
Right, but I want to see him have to do something this time.
Sure.
I don't want 10 passes.
No.
Because and if I'm the team, I might not care about that. I might say 10 passes was great. But in our business, I want to see him be forced to do something much more so than 10 passes.
Yeah.
My curiosity now has gotten the best of me in this situation based on the fact that I want to see what happens when he has to throw. And I'm not trying to imply he should throw 40 passes, but let's say he has to throw 25 passes.
Yeah.
He has to do something to help you win this game. And it has to be far more substantial than going 8 of 10 or whatever his completion percentage was against the Falcons.
He's going to have to do more. There's no question about that. But I think that getting him in the rhythm early is going to go a long way. If you can come out, if Gary Kubiak and Kyle Stefanski can come out with a really
Kevin
Stefanski, star.
Don't sell our guy short here.
My bad. I've been getting first names wrong all week. If they can come out with a good opening script, I think that would go a long way. The way that we saw Green Bay have a great script last week.
Yep.
Where they marched the ball down the field twice, and then obviously the third touchdown was a short field. But if they can come out with a good script and get off to a good start and give Kirk some easy throws quick after he gets the snap, again, the under 2.5 seconds, so he's not holding on to the ball, let him find a rhythm. I think that would go a long way into him having a successful day on Sunday.
The only problem there is if they come out and the first, let's say 15 plays go well. Now I'm curious, okay, those went well, but do you come back and continue that? Because I'll tell you who was a pretty good script guy, and offensively, it often went to hell shortly after the script expired. Brad Childress was.
Yeah.
Brad Childress teams would come out, and that first drive lots of times would move down the field and have success, and you'd be like, oh, they're on to something today. You know, and this could be Danny Tavares Jackson at times.
Well, I mean, look how good the script looked for Matt LaFleur last week, and then they couldn't figure it out after that. Green Bay could not do anything offensively after their script was over. After they got off script, the Vikings defense took over that game.
And so I want to see Kirk not only in script, but post-script.
Post-script will be interesting, but I think that he's got a better chance of success post-script if the script is good.
The show is Viking Vent Line. You can reach us at 651-646-8255. And let's go to our buddy Tyler. Hey, Tyler, what's going on?
Hey, guys. Happy Friday.
You too, Tyler. What's up?
Piggybacking kind of off of what you guys are talking about, the scripted plays, etc. What happens in this game if the Vikings get down early? Let's say the Oakland scripted plays go well. They put 7 on the board. Is this team capable of coming back? I mean, we obviously know they have deficiencies as far as scoring and coming from behind, but given the mental, I guess the mindset of the team and the lack of confidence in Kirk Cousins, what happens if they get down early?
I think that it depends how far down they get. They can come back from being down 7-0. I think they can come back from being down 10-0. It's when you get down 2 touchdowns, down 3 scores. That's when I lose confidence.
Yeah, I think we saw it last week.
If the Raiders drive down the field and score a touchdown on the opening drive, the game's not over.
Mhm.
I'm confident the Vikings can still find a way to win. If the Raiders do it on 2 drives, my confidence wanes a little bit. If they score 3 possessions in a row and are up 17-0, I think that's when the game's over.
This team showed last week, though, and this is the problem, is this defense can't have a bad quarter.
No.
1 touchdown against is not a bad quarter. 2 touchdowns against is pushing your luck. 17 points or more is a awful quarter.
Yeah.
And that sunk them. Last weekend, that sunk them because they don't have a quarterback, at least on Sunday. And I realize the difference is this is a home game. That was a road game.
Yeah.
But they didn't have a guy who had the wherewithal or mentality because they should have left Lambeau Field with an incredible win where you said they had no business winning that game and they won that game. And they didn't do it.
The Packers tried to give them that game.
I understand
Packers
that.
wanted them to win that game.
I understand that. But to answer Tyler's question, this defense can't have a bad quarter. They just can't. If they have a bad quarter, you might be, as we learned, absolutely sunk. But these are all things, my curiosity now, as the week has progressed, has gotten the best of me because these are all things I really want to see how Cousins now responds. And does Cousins respond differently here? Because you could argue that at least in Green Bay, if you fall down, I mean, the fans are cheering against you, but they don't care.
Yeah.
They're not going to turn on you. They already hate you. If you're here and things go south, guess what? You get booed. And Kirk seemed to me to be a guy, more so than I've ever seen him after Sunday's game, who was in Kirk's head. Hey, Rick, what's going on? Thanks for holding on.
Yeah, real quick question, and I hang up and listen. Kirk Cousins' first pass, pick 6.
Is that a question, or are you just proclaiming that's going to be?
What do you think would happen? He throws an interception the first time, and it's pick 6. And
he's getting booed.
7-0 Buffalo.
He's getting booed.
I'm getting below the press box table, Rick. That's what's going to happen.
And I also,
Okay.
Rick, I also like that you got, and thank you for the call. I like that you got Buffalo and Oakland confused because it does feel like a very
It feels like
game.
the same game, Rick.
Yeah.
It feels like the same game. But
it does.
If the first pass is a pick 6, if it's like
He's getting booed.
an out route or something that gets jumped, Rick, it's going to be not just
It's going to be a long day.
He's going to get a standing boo.
It will be the loudest boos I think ever heard at that stadium. I mean, it's a young stadium. It's only 4 years old.
Well, let's see. We've seen some in 4 years quality Vikings meltdowns there.
Mhm.
The Colts no-show.
Yep.
In 16.
Yep.
That was a quality no-show.
Yep.
That was a lot of guys who had basically said, you know what, I don't care. I don't care today about football. Bears game last year.
The Buffalo game last year.
The Buffalo
boos,
game. Yeah. But and again, I didn't feel that the boos in the Buffalo game last year were necessarily all directed at Kirk. I think this is all on Kirk now.
Yep.
Like, I think people are going to this game looking for a reason to boo him. Where the Buffalo game last year was a really bad game and was frustrating to watch. But when you're in your 3rd game
and coming off the performance that he just had.
Yeah, exactly. There would have been no compelling case.
He played great against Green Bay week 2 in the tie last year. The week 2 tie was not Kirk Cousins' fault last year.
Let me throw this.
He actually deserved to win that game.
Let me throw this at you because this could be cause for concern. I referenced the Vikings injury report that came out after Thursday's practice. Anthony Barr, linebacker, groin injury, limited on Wednesday, did not participate on Thursday. And here's the problem. Zimmer says that he expects him to play. We all know the track record. When Mike expects you to play, it's now 50-50, if that.
Yeah.
And how that potentially alters the game if he can't play, or certainly if he tries to play and is has to be used in a limited capacity.
Mhm.
How big of a difference does that make then?
It makes a big difference. I mean, you hate to see guys on the injury report because that's something that this team really can't afford. They don't have a ton of depth, and that's something that really is hit hard when you're so up against the salary cap the way that the way that the Vikings are. You can't afford injuries like this. And that's something, if Zim expects you to play and it's 50-50 at that point, I don't feel good that you're going to play.
Well, and Mike always says, and I don't blame him, but Mike always says, oh, I think he'll play. He'll be fine.
He'll
And
play
then
at
the
some
inactive
point.
list comes out and he doesn't play.
Yeah.
So that could just be a problem there. Now, the good news, if you're a Vikings fan, is that Oakland's got a bunch of guys, starters as well, banged up, hurt, and who potentially might not be able to play at full strength or play at all. So that's good if you're a Vikings fan. But I saw that about Barr, and I saw Zimmer's quote, and I immediately thought to myself, this is really how this is. Mike say, oh, he'll play, he'll be fine, and then he doesn't.
Yeah.
But the Cousins thing, going back to that is the angle. This is the first time that I really think that we've gone into a Vikings home game and thought to ourselves, if it goes wrong, they're going to boo one guy in a long time. Now, Ponder got that, but that was Ponder.
Yeah.
But I'm trying to think of guys who we've gone into Vikings home games thinking this guy is coming off a bad game. He's being paid a lot. He is the focal point in the fans' mind, right or wrong, of the team. And if he doesn't play well, it's going to turn on him. And oh, by the way, this guy's susceptible to collapse even more because of that.
Yeah. Because you just know he doesn't have the mental capacity to overcome it.
Right. Because some guys just don't give a damn.
No.
And
some guys,
and you're like, okay, that's fine.
Could not matter less to them.
And some guys don't care because that's how they're wired. Some guys don't care because they are just dumb.
Yep.
Like they're just dumb people. But Cousins is not that. Cousins is a sensitive guy.
Yes, exactly.
And so if he throws, and to the caller's point, God help us all if he throws a pick six.